Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge in the Almighty Dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2023 Farmers Insurance Open. This is going to be my all-in-one show. You're going to get a preview of the course and everything you need to know. You're going to get my betting card. I'm going to go through all the betting stuff. I've got a long shot that I think you are going to want to hear. Might be able to sell you on that guy. And then, of course, my top 20 picks. We're going to go through all that analysis. Ownership projections, weather. We got a lot to cover. I'm going to try to move through this very quickly. I'm going to do a quick recap of the Amex, but it's been a couple days. I apologize. I did not get this show out yesterday. I was traveling, so I'm getting you everything today that you need to know. All right, with that said, thank you for stopping by, as always, and let's go talk a little golf. All right, so right off the bat with the Amex, of course, we all know what happened. Rahm again wins his back-to-back tournaments for him. Had one break, what was it, between the Sony, he didn't play. Gives him 4 out of 6 internationally. I think from all of our perspective, if you were betting, I didn't have money on Rahm, right? We had money on a bunch of different guys, kind of on the hope and prayer that Rahm didn't win again, but it happened. Gets back-to-back wins at the Amex. And then you got your buddy over here, Davis Thompson, just in utter despair because on the 16th hole, he could have tied the tournament and went to a playoff, but of course it hit the middle of the pin, kicked out, and then the big questions are, would it went in? If he didn't have the pin in, it looked like it would have, but that's neither here or there. So there was a little bit of, Xander, of course, shot the double eagle, but I don't know if he really had a chance to get in it. But it was an amazing 10 under round. You had EVR shoot 10 under. And if you want to know, just real quick, I had some stats. If you want to know what, Rahm did well from a ball striking perspective, did really well off the tee, of course, approach. And then, of course, Sunday affected his, putting did not happen very well for him, where he missed a couple short ones. I think it was Thursday. He had an amazing putting round, but neither here or there. Rahm was Rahm, and the rest of the field, just could not do enough. And really, I think some of these guys, if they could have put the 4 days together, easily this tournament could have been 30, 32 under without anything. And then I just put this up there real fast on Davis Thompson. So from my perspective, I went back to review, hey, how did I miss this guy? It wasn't in my picks. I didn't bet him. But then I went back and it was really nothing there that really stood out. But I mean, the guy went in Fuego, 5 eagles on the par 5s, just tore those apart. And he just had one of the best putting rounds that he's ever had. And that's the sum of it. And then real quick, we talked a lot about, hey, for Showdown, play La Quinta. But funny enough, because of the weather that California had, I think all the courses played easier. The stadium did not have the bite that it typically does. Usually it's a lot faster and firmer. And you see guys have runoffs more into the traps or off the greens. That wasn't going on, but still La Quinta, going forward is still the best, I think, from a Showdown perspective. You can see the 21 Eagles, because they have those back-to-back par 5s on the front, that really gives you a consecutive birdie bonus. And then also you've got 11, 12, 13 with par 5s kind of bookending 11 and 13. Another area, I mean, you saw guys get consecutive birdie bonuses, multiple Eagles. I mean, it was a scoring fest. It's a whole different story that we're going to be talking about for the Farmers, but hey, it is still applicable. And then I just also noted the one thing that I'm going to probably lean a little more on is that I like the rotation guys that start on La Quinta, Nicklaus, to Stadium. This is showing 30 golfers out of the 52 made the cut, and I think there is a distinct advantage. They even stated that 8 out of the 10 last winners came out of that rotation. Also, it seems like they put the better players in that rotation. The only one that really were not in here, I think, was Schauffele and Cantlay. The rest of the top of the field was in that draw. But yeah, it's just something that I'm going to keep an eye on. Something I want to call out, and I will make a note for next year that when I'm doing the GPP DFS selections for me, I'm going to stack a little heavier with the guys that start on La Quinta. Okay, so with that said, let's put away the Amex. We are still staying in California. We are headed to La Jolla, right by San Diego. Couple key things that you just need to know, which I'm sure you might already know this, but tomorrow is when this tournament starts on Wednesday, due to they don't want to compete with the football games that'll be on Sunday. So again, Wednesday start, get your lineups in and get ready. As you probably also already know, it is a 2-course rotation for Wednesday, Thursday. You've got either guys, one or the other are going to play north and south. Now, of course, if you're doing Showdown, make it very clear you want to play the guys from the north. It is definitely an advantage, and we'll dive a little bit into that here in the next slide. But just want make sure we get that out. So tomorrow, Wednesday start, you got guys that are playing north and south courses on Wednesday, Thursday. And the last, there is weather. And I think there is going to be an advantage depending on where you start. So we'll dive a little bit into that too. You got for the South, it's a par 72, 77.65, so almost 7,800 yards. Big boy course. You're going to need distance. Got to be a ball striker. Irons, as always, around the green definitely shows up here, and pretty tough green, so you're going to need to putt. And then on the North course, some differences. Of course, minus about 500 yards, still par 72. Less traps, I know that. And then the greens are a little larger, but the fairways, funny enough, are a little bit smaller, but all in all, it's much easier to score. And I'll get into that. You got the Kikuyu with the ryegrass on the fairways and 3-inch rough. And then you do have different greens. So you've got on the South course, you got the POA greens, as we all know. You kind of want to put those in the morning. As the afternoon goes on, those greens and spots can grow up and gives you that kind of bouncy ball. I've talked about that multiple times. And then you got the nice bent greens over on the North, which again might help. And they're also, as I mentioned, bigger. We are a full player field of 156 PGA players. This is a 36-hole cut, not a 54 like we saw just recently at the Amex. And as usual, T65 and ties will move on to the weekend to then again play Torrey, the South course, for both days. If you want to know some past winners, of course, we had Luke List last year. I don't want to say out of nowhere, but it was his first win on tour. We were waiting and waiting. He was an elite ball striker forever. It was always the putter that kind of held him back. And right, he went to that playoff with Will Z, but ultimately stuck it, if I remember correctly. I think they played 18 over, within a couple feet. And I still was nervous for him to make the putt, but he did. And then you got a couple live guys that are no longer with us that have won here, kind of really good, which tells you around the green, good putters, and also good, from that 200 plus. You got Mr. Patrick Reed at 1400. You got Leishman at 15. You had Justin Rose, which I don't know if this is a course record for the Farmers, or I should say the tournament record, 21 under, but as far as I know, that's the lowest I've ever seen it. I'm guessing weather conditions were amazing, and he must have just played amazing. I don't remember a whole lot of that tournament, to be honest. And then before that, you had Jason Day, who's won here a couple times, and I think everybody's on. And probably my one and done pick, if it was me, I'd probably burn him here. Either it's going to go really well or really bad. That's the way I feel about Jason Day. But he won in a playoff before the Rose. I believe that'd be like 2018 against Norton and Palmer. Average green size at the South course, 5,000 square feet, which is typical. That's average standard for a PGA Tour. I mentioned more sand on this course. You got 82 sand bunkers, and you've only got one big water hazard. You'd have to get quite a bit wayward. Would be the Pacific Ocean, but really there's really no water hazards to worry about. And then a Stimpmeter, if I had to guess, because it is on the Pacific Ocean and you get the winds that like we were talking about for Thursday, I'd guess it's probably running somewhere around 11 or 12. Okay, course defense, you have narrow fairways, which of course, as I already mentioned, we need distance, and it's going to be a little harder to hit those long shots from 200 out. So hitting some fairways, I put that in the model. I did note that guys that fade the ball off the tee seem to do a little better here. It might be just with some of the shape of the holes or just looking at the past winners. Wind is definitely going to be a factor, and the wind can change at any time at this course. I mentioned the thick 3-inch rough, Kikuyu, tough to get out of. You got a crazy elevation changes, a bit like the Tournament of Champions at Kapalua. And then you got some deep sand fairway bunkers that could cause some issues, of course, on your approach. And then again, very tough greens on the south side. Past notes, no shocker. It's a big boy course. You need all the skills, but I've kind of broken it down very specific in the larger model and the smaller. So I'll go through all that with you. And then before I noted that, hey, you need grinders. This isn't, a course that, it's not a putting contest. So like the Will Z's are very live here, guys. Even, I would say Max Homa kind of fits that build where, you need good ball strikers. They're not typically going to go shoot that 30 under, but can definitely win at this kind of event. And as always, make hay when you get to play the North course. And then also you got to take advantage, the par fives are not easy. There's two shorters, two at 600 plus. So, but you need to make scoring on there. And again, it's a very beautiful course. Some people kind of knock it. I think it's, there's like this par three, it's got some amazing views. People said they could have done more with, the land they had. But all in all, this was, we kind of had the preseason, if you want to look at it. This was always the first tournament that Tiger played. I always kind of look at it, I've kind of got like what I say, the fifth majors, which, technically could be the sixth or seventh major. You got the Farmers, you got Wells Fargo, you got Genesis. I think some of the bigger boy with the big guys show up. And even though the field, I feel is a little bit lesser, and that's a lot due to those elevated fields that are coming, like Waste Management. I'm not sure how the Farmers didn't make that, but it didn't right now. Maybe that'll happen next year. They'll kind of rotate that. And then here is what I wanted to just quickly show you. So this is looking at last year's first round comparison. The scoring average was quite significantly different, almost 4 strokes. Scored a par. You had guys 226 under who played the North. You had the rest of the field, 61 over par. How many rounds of 5 under or better? 26 versus 4, and then rounds over par 39 versus 5. So I mean, a huge advantage when you play the North, night and day. And again, that's why you want to play Showdown. And then also, I'll talk a little bit about the wind advantage and why I think you want to play the South on Wednesday tomorrow, and then take the North on the wind. Now, some people might say, well, hey, when you get the guys won't be able to score as well. And it could all just kind of vanilla out, but that's what I think is you can, maybe manage a 1 or 2 under on the North with that kind of wind, and, keep a high score off the South. That's just my thoughts. From a scorecard perspective, there's not a ton to say here. I mean, there's 2 areas that I see that you could maybe get that consecutive birdie bonus. You've got 6, 7, 8, if you could somehow get a birdie on this tough par 4, but really probably your best opportunity is 8, 9, 10. And it doesn't matter. Everyone's going to get shot off number 1 because they got split courses. So, and it's it's just a big boy course. I mean, there's no way around it. It's I would put it up there with like Kiowa. I think, if I remember correctly, I think Kiowa was around 7,700 yards, 7,800 yards. But I can't remember what Palmetto was, but that kind of sticks out. Kind of the same kind of design. But I remember Kiowa was one of the longer tracks these guys ever played. And of course, I pulled up the card and everything worked out. They have changed no holes since last year, so we're all good on that side. And then from a custom stat model, what is it that you need to do to win here? I've kind of already talked about this, but I'll just reemphasize. Ball striking, number 1, approach, driving distance, putting, around the green. I've actually removed this Prox 175 to 200. I really wanted to put some weighting on these other areas. I'll talk a little about that when we get into looking at the models here. And then, of course, there's 6 of these really long par 4s. There's 2 very long par 5s. You've got 3 very long par 3s. And then I actually removed 3-putt avoidance. I just kind of upped the putting. Wasn't as concerned, but it has showed up here. Can't have any 3-putts. And then if you're interested from past winners, what did these guys do very well? I mean, it's pretty typical. If they had a ball striking field here, it doesn't, but it's off the tee, approach, and putting. No shocker there. And if we look at, what the guys do here that won last year, again, off the tee, approach, putting. If I had to like weigh any of it, give me off the tee and approach, and then just hope these, they don't have to do a lot around the green. So if you guys don't have a good putter or good around the green, but you can still ball strike it, I think you have a shot here. That's my own personal feeling on that. All right. So with all that said, of course, I created a custom stat model. The first thing that we always look at here is recent form. I've got no filters turned on, and we are looking at the past 6 tournaments these guys have played, or 24 rounds, which now this field is all kind of, we've seen pretty much everybody. There's going to be, 1 or 2 here, like Alonto Griffin making his first PGA event in over like 8 months or so. It's been forever. I think he was dealing with a back issue. There was some issue. I think it was the back. But to get into the model and how it's weighted, if you're interested, so I mentioned I kind of took a couple things out, which gave a little more weight to driving distance, a little more weight to approach and ball striking. So that's like over, 50% of the model. Putting, I gave a little more to, and then that Prox 200 out is at 5. You got the par 4, the par 5s, the par 3s, all at 5. Around the green went up a little bit compared to last year, and then fairways gain at 5%. So you plug that all in, and after 24 rounds, you get, Xander number 1, which I'm very comfortable with. Now, how much can Xander's back hold up playing, 8 rounds of golf and, I don't know, less than 14 days. We'll see how that all works out. Tony Finau's played very well here. Will Z, Jason Dave's, won twice, got an amazing record. Big Griffin, Colin Taryn, elite off the tee. But again, you got Johnny Rahm, of course, probably the most elite out of everyone at this course. Cam Davis, James Hahn, Buckley M., Matthias Schmid, Neesmith, and Max Homa. Of course, the California Mad Max, who just, loves putting on pole and loves playing in California. Hence your past, won the Genesis, was that 2 years ago now against Finau in the playoff? And then I took a look just for my own personal, and for you, if you're curious, recent form, which would be just 12 rounds, the last 3 tournaments, how would it change? A lot of the same names, just kind of moved around a little bit, but you got Taylor, Finau, Day, Alex Smalley moved quite a bit up, Matthias Schmid, which I believe is a German, and we got to see the guy's got elite distance off the tee. Woolsey, Buckley, Neesmith, Shoffley, Homa, Kim, Harding, Colm, Rom, and then Hadwin. That rounds out your recent form guys. Again, top 15 recent form against my model. Then, of course, we always go look at history at Torrey Pines. This is a focus on the South. I did pull in the U.S. Open also just to get a little more data. That was in 2021. And so you're going to see a little different. Some guys made cuts, some guys played more than the others, but against my model, historical, of course, Rom, Rose, past winner. Keegan's done very well here in the past. Will Z, Gary Woodland, Morikawa, Lanto shows up quite a bit here, but I've got to see Lanto play. Typically, if you haven't had competitive rounds, PGA competitive rounds, it's going to take you a while. I would be shocked if he made the cut, but we'll see. I got Luke List, Jason Day, again, past winners, Hideki, who, had a little better success here, I feel like, back in 2017. He's lost a driver. He's still got distance. Great ball striker, good around the green. It's just not a good putter typically. It's very hit or miss. But I think I mentioned prior to Tournament of Champions that he was testing out a bunch of drivers. I don't think he's found one that he's happy with. So we'll see if that works out. Maybe that's all changed. But, these guys literally go from day to day, hole from hole at times where things will switch. Xander, Aaron Rai, who I'm not on this, even though I know he had that, 6th place finish. Some things tell you, but there's other things that tell me that Aaron Rai could struggle here. My buddy Austin Smotherman, who actually popped up on the radar the first time at this course, and I do like him from a DFS play. I think his game set. Ryan Palmer, who had a very, not, I don't know how to say it, terrible 2022 season as far as I'm concerned. But he is that ball striker and has a great history here. But I think I'm going to lean more towards Munoz, Grillo. There was somebody else top of my head that fits in that ball striking, but not a good putter. But Palmer's got the history here. Every time he comes through, he does well. And Brendan Steele, again, falls in that ball striking with some struggles with the putter at times. And then I also pull up this view. This is looking at the last 5 tournaments in a row, the Farmers, at Torrey Pines South. Who's gained the most strokes total across the board. And, no shocker, Rom. I mentioned Palmer. You got Rose, Finau, Day, List, Matz, Shoffley's, Will Z, Gary Woodland, Sungjae M. There's Lanto again, Keegan Bradley, Siwoo Kim, Max Homa, and Matt McNeely. If you're curious about, guys that either grew up, played college golf, is a California background, you probably know some of them, but, Morikawa, Xander, Shoffley, who's funny, played this course quite a bit in high school, has struggled, he mentioned, but I think he's got over that hump here. You also got, of course, Max Homa, Matt McNeely, and I think Lanto even has some California ties, but don't hold me to that. I have to check. All right, on that note, of course, who's the guys who grew up playing on POA? That is a huge advantage. It is different, just like the guys that grew up in Florida playing on Bermuda. Right off the bat, from a putting perspective, who's the best POA putter over the past, this is 9 tournaments or 36 rounds, so a larger sample. As mentioned, whenever I do the putting, I do like larger samples. McNeely, Wyndham Clark, who I wanted to bet, but I didn't grab it Monday morning at 110 to 1, and so I'm going to kind of wait on that. You got Stewart, Shoffley, Homa, Kim, Peter Molinari, who's actually made a cut here a couple times, which that's kind of shocking. Must have done a lot with the putter because, of course, he's very short and not the greatest, I don't think, ball striker. Patrick Rogers, we're going to talk about from a betting perspective. Of course, Ram, Jahan, Justin Suh, Bryce Garnett, Sabatini, your silver medalist winner at the Olympics. Taylor Montgomery and Harris English still, I think, getting his game back in form from the hip injury. All right, so this was very interesting when I was pulling this up from last year. This was my list of best ball strikers, just, this one single model over the last 12 rounds at that time. And I'm showing you this because literally Luke List, who won the tournament at 90 to 1, and Will Z, who was in the playoff at 33 to 1. Those were your top 2. And then you also had, John Rahm, who came in 3rd. You had Aaron Rai pop up. I'm sure some of these other guys had pretty good finishes, but I just thought that was crazy. So if you're curious for this year, who's your best ball striker? Well, Will Z's still there, but remember, we're just going to see a little bit of Will Z back. I think he's still got some way to come, but I mean, this is a great course for him to, have that nice top 5 finish or win. It makes sense, I mean, from everything. But again, like I said, the data that we're still pulling is, a little bit older, right? He withdrew from the BMW in the FedEx Cup. He won the previous tournament for the FedEx Cup, the St. Jude. So just note to self. But hey, there's Jason Day. I think, everybody's all over him. Again, I mentioned, I think I would use him for a one and done. Just, I would, this would be a good spot to do it. I'm not betting them, and I am, I think I did pick them from a DFS play, but I just every time I play Jason Day, it typically does not go well for me. Put Ricky Fowler right in that camp too, and also Justin Rose. And then we got Brendan Steele, Xander Schauffele, Morikawa, Hahn, Ben Griffin, Finau, Buckley, Kim, Siwoo Kim, Davis, Thompson, Trey Mullinax, Penderith, John Rahm, Colin, Taryn. Again, this is your best ball strikers over the past 6 tournaments or 24 rounds they played. And I mentioned the wind that's going to show up right now, at least is stating, for Thursday. And so I wanted to pull up the best win players over the last 8 rounds. And you might say, well, that seems, not very many. But you got to remember, this is the craziest of wins that these guys play in. And that only happens sparingly. Maybe, like the Players, I think we had a day of that. It just pops up here or there like last year. So this data, I did look, and it's over the last year's season. So it's nothing crazy old. But it's guys that hit the ball very well off the tee that typically do well in the wind. Hence, Sungjae M, Keegan Bradley, Finau, Rahm, English at one time was very lead off the tee. Hideki, Homa, Hadwin, Thomas, Munoz, Molinex, Adam Long. He's not long, but is very accurate off the tee. Wilsey, Andrew Novak, and Xander. Again, I just pulled up 8 rounds of, which would keep like recent form, but guys that have done it well recently in windy conditions. All right, so the comp course I did here is a little different, and I'm going to explain this really fast. All right, the courses on the left, which are all California, they're all POA. They don't all like fit as a how they play, but they hit those characteristics. They all POA greens, they're all in California, but they all play a little different. You got Pebble Beach, one of the shorter tracks. You got the Genesis, a very tough big boy track. So your best comparable to Torrey Pines, I think, is Riviera. So this model is just looking at those courses on the left. And I wanted to see that just because who does well in California, who does well in POA. And I like the list. I mean, Max Homa, Morikawa, a couple California guys, Rahm, Schauffele, California guy, Woodland, Will Z, Lanto shows up again, Matz, List, Percy, McNeely again, California kid, Finau, Rose, Hahn, and Thomas. So that's just looking at the left. And then if you want to include these courses over to the right, which I feel like fit more from how they play, but they have different type grass surfaces. They don't have the wind off the Pacific, that kind of thing. They're also typically a little warmer. You've got the Wells Fargo Quail Hollow. You've got the TPC San Antonio AT&T Oaks course. It's a long mouthful for the Valero Texas Open. And you've got Bay Hill, of course, where they play the API. Now, if you plug that in and look over the last 24, Woodland goes to the top. Of course, he had a good showing at API last year, and it's had good showings at a lot of these tracks. You got Xander, Matz, Rahm, List, Morikawa, Bradley, Smotherman pops up there, but only 18 rounds on those courses. Homa, Wilsey, English, Griot, Finau, Percy, which is funny. Cameron Percy he's a guy that if you want a sneaky 6 guy in to get you, a nice build up top and to get you a 6-6, the guy, he's from Aussie, he's an old crafty veteran, and the guy does make cuts. And then you got Lanto again popping up, but again, has not played competitive golf in almost a year. It seems like at least like 6 to 8 months. All right. One last thing is I did mention I do think there's an advantage to playing the North on the windy day. So, I'm looking at these are the guys that are teeing off Wednesday morning tomorrow at the South course. And I feel like there is an advantage. I would rather get the South out of the way on perfect conditions, perfect, there's no wind, pretty good temperature, and then go deal with the North, which is much easier when it's crazy windy. Because you could have a disastrous day. We've seen Torrey South but when it's windy like that, you can see guys shoot 8 over without a problem. So with all that said, if you're curious, who are the guys that rank the highest in my model that are starting early on the South course tomorrow? You got Finau, Ben Griffin, Colin Taryn, Rahm, Cam Davis, M, Neesmith, Molinex, Smalley, Kitayama, Danny Lee, Patrick Welch. I'm not worried about that guy. Siwoo Kim, Davis Thompson, Nick Harding, Justin Thomas. I believe that's Kevin Yu. Yeah, I don't think that's Carly. I think that's Kevin Yu. Justin Rose, Bobby Shelton, and Taylor Montgomery. Now, again, this is the top 20 guys that I think that I'm looking at that are starting on the South course tomorrow morning, which I think could be an advantage. Also, a lot of these guys are getting into my betting card or I've already bet. So that's, again, like I told you, I'm not saying this is going to dictate how I build. And I'm telling you to just go with the guys that are playing on the South. But I do think there's a little bit of advantage. Now, you could also say, hey, the guys on the North course are going to have perfect conditions. They can go out and shoot 6-8 under, and then just try to manage the South. And that could be, I mean, it could all, like I said, just kind of balance out. But the first way that I lean is, hey, give me the guys that are going to be able to play the South under perfect conditions and then go play the easy course under tougher conditions. All right. So with all that said, this is my betting card. And of course, some of these things, well, these numbers are pretty accurate, but some of that what I got bets in, I got a little better odds. I did pull some triggers Monday morning. I did not pull the trigger on Xander or Homa yet. I don't like those odds. And I'm hoping, there's a pure hope that I'm going to live bet these guys and get a little better. So I am going to bet them. It's just going to be live and see how things go. So those two I do not have money on right now. The rest of the guys I do have money on. Neesmith 200-1. I think, great long shot. Molinex, Bramlett. Garrick Hagel purely is, I've hit him before at Palmetto. He did have a nice Amex. The guy's got length. He's not a bad putter. I think more on Bermuda, but neither here or there. It is a super long shot. Patrick Rogers, we're going to talk a little more about. Big fan of that. It's probably my favorite long shot bet. And then Henrik Norlander, who I think has done, if I remember right, from his history, he's done pretty well here. And his game, kind of fits what he can do at this course. So, again, not bad from a long shot. Now, let's talk about that long shot even further. This is my favorite super long shot, 130-1. And I'm going to move through this pretty quick. But the first thing you need to know is that guys that win the Farmers, 8 out of the past 10, have had a 10th or better in their previous starts. And this guy's had a 4th back in 2017 and a 9th in 2020. He had a missed cut in 21, but did make the cut last year. But as you see, it was kind of either almost a top 10 or a missed cut. But okay, we know that he can do this at this course. Also, the best comparable course in my beliefs is Riviera, and also has had really good showing there, all again on POA. Has gained quite a bit with the putter on POA. So awesome finishes at, I think, the number one comparable course that we have for Torrey. And then the other one, again, just another California POA course, of course, the Fortinet at Silverado. Again, pretty good showings, a couple top 10s, and then, a bunch of made cuts, a 25th, a couple missed cuts. But again, gaining on POAs. That, all in all, there's the, the comp course side. Then the next thing I'm looking at recent form, and this guy's actually had amazing, I think, really good, for 130-1, amazing recent form. A 10th at RSM, a 16th, a 3rd at, but I mean, all a nice little run here. The Amex, yes, he just recently missed a cut, but hey, that helped us probably get this 130-1. And you're saying, well, who is this guy? And I kind of mentioned briefly, Patrick Rogers, right? So he's California, went to Stanford, actually broke some of Tiger Woods' records at Stanford. Very comfortable in California. The guy was expected to come out and set the world ablaze and win a ton, and it just hasn't happened. He still doesn't have a win. So if you look at the Luke List narrative, everything lines up that I think Patrick Rogers could go out and actually win this thing and get his first win. The field is not ridiculous. It's not like, you got 50 of the top 70. Don't get me wrong. There's Rahm and Xander and all those guys. But, I've seen this guy go out, and his problem is, I think, consistency. Where he could go on the North Course and literally shoot 7 under tomorrow and could go on the South Course and shoot 7 over. So, and he does not have the good draw. He in my perspective, he's going to start on the North, and then on the windy day, he's got to play the South. So if somehow he could pull it out and get into the weekend, who knows? This guy can get pretty hot. It's just see what he does with the putter on the POA. But overall, he's done pretty well there. So if you're out of everything I'm doing from a betting perspective, if you just want to put a couple bucks, this will be the guy that I would put it on. And then, of course, a couple of the favorites that we're, all looking at. All right, so let's now go jump over into Fantasy National. I'm going to quickly go through the player analysis, tell you my top 20 guys that I'm playing, and then also we'll do ownership projections, weather, and then get you guys out of here. And let's do that right now. Okay, so I've hopped over into Fantasy National, and as always, my plug for them, if you are putting any kind of money on fantasy golf, betting, use this tool, do your own analysis. You will love it. It is probably one of the funner parts, I think, of doing the whole DFS thing. Okay. As always, you've got DraftKings pricing that we're going to be looking at. You could also, use these picks for Yahoo, FanDuel, whatever, wherever you do your fantasy golf, of course, use it. I've done a lot of pre-work as always, but what I'm going to be focusing on is the last 24 rounds of golf. So I like that sample, last 6 tournaments. I've got no filters on, but like I said, I've already done some filtering on these guys. I'm going to be focused on 20 guys that I'm going to dive into. We've already spent quite a bit of time, so I don't want to spend too much on this, but just so you know, the mini model here, if you want to see how it's weighted. So the five key categories I'm looking at: ball striking approach around the green, prox 200 out, and at driving distance. You can see right here, about 30, 20, 19, 16, 16. So that way there, if you're doing the same thing and you want to kind of match up my numbers, I've had a couple of you guys mention that. There you go. What's a little unique is I'm not going to show you birdies over the last 24 rounds. We're going to be looking at putting splits. And because I think guys that do well on POA is a unique thing. POA is a different type of surface, as in, what it does with the patchiness and what it does in the afternoon compared to the morning. So you got to be comfortable with POA. And then over here, you get recent results, what they've done over the last 5 tournaments, and tournament history. Now, real quick, the problem with Jon Rahm, right? I already went into this about everything says should win it, should be awesome. And that's, again, I mentioned this with the Tom Kim thing or the Sungjae Im at the Sony. That's when these guys can maybe not miss the cut, but end up like, in a 30th place or something. Don't pay off that big price tag. But I cannot tell you not to play Jon Rahm. Now, what I'm going to tell you for me, I will be starting a lot of my builds with Xander because it's going to be very difficult to get the builds that you want with Jon Rahm in it. So where I'm going with that is I'm not telling you not to pick him. I'm telling you that I will fade him quite a bit, depending on how many lineups I build. And the only thing I have against Xander, you can see his best putting surface is POA. You could say, well, the back could show up, but we saw nothing at all that hindered him. At the Amex, but he is playing, like I said, it could be 8 rounds of golf within a pretty short turnaround. Of course, he had a T2 here in 2021. He's kind of mentioned, if I remember this correctly, that he played this track a bit in high school, never did well here. And then people just asked him, and I think mentally he's kind of gotten over all that. And I think he's ready to go ahead and win in California. So that's where I'm at. Of course, you got Morikawa, another California guy. I just like Xander's game a little better than I do Morikawa for this type of track. What's he done here? He's played here once at a T21. Again, no issues at Colin Kent. He's still elite, but you can see, driving distance is definitely around the green is where he struggles. That's really what kind of cost him the TOC Tournament of Champions, Century Tournament of Champions was the chipping. Now that was Bermuda, tight Bermuda, a little different, but that's my reasoning there. Willsey, I have no issues. I think this is the kind of tournament that he can compete and win. Of course, he went a playoff, but I'm saying even with where he typically does well is that when the scoring is not 28 under or 30 under. I believe he needs, because the putter is not as good as typically some of these guys. The easiest way to say it, I don't like Willsey in a putting contest. They're done. But he's one of the best ball strikers on tour. Justin Thomas, the putter, no thank you. It's just been bad. You can see right here, when you don't see any bars up over the last 24 rounds, that means you're not gaining on any of this. Great shot maker, great in the wind, decent golf. I'll say that. We've seen, he had a miscut here. Last time he played, he had a T20, but for that price tag, I'd rather play Will Z or Sungjae Im. Again, I showed you Sungjae Im. We're going to have some wind, has done well. Now, I've always said I think Bermuda is his better surface, which it shows here. But, decent putter all around, pretty good. He's just solid. I mean, that's all I can say about the guy. He's just, you never feel bad about plugging in Sungjae Im until he misses the cut, like at the Honda where he's won or something like that. But no issues, but he's not going to make, my top. I'd rather play Taylor Montgomery. I see a little more upside here, right? He's been playing elite, especially over the last 3 tournaments. What does he do very well? He drives the ball amazing. You see the distance. Now, maybe not as most accurate. Let's go take a look at him real quick. I'm guessing he's like 58%, something like that. 57, pretty close, accuracy-wise. But you can see when he has put it on POA now, this is a small sample. Well, only 3 rounds we've got tracked on him. Right, he was a rookie. Coming out of last year. Actually, in the fall, right? Fall of this year is actually when he got his PGA card. So we haven't, we're still getting to understand Taylor Montgomery, but everything we've seen is amazing. Played here once at a T11, so we know he can manage this track. You can see the irons is the one area that could be a problem. Everything else looks pretty decent. Of course, Max Homa now, literally, depending on if I'm trying to make more of a build that's a little more balanced, I will start my builds with Max Homa and just skip, all of this and try to, build from below. So I'll let you in on that. Or, you could start Montgomery Homa. There's an idea. I think Matsuyama, we'll get to ownership projections. I think he's going to be really low. Oh, and I just spit a lot, but everybody, Some people don't know. So Max Wright, I mean, California guy, loves it. Won the Genesis. He's won the Wells Fargo. This guy is a ball striking extraordinaire. And if he gets hot with the putter, which he has been getting better and better with the putter, watch out. Of course, he won the Fortinet on POA. I told you I will be betting him. I'm just hoping to get a little better odds in that 20, 22 that's hanging out there right now. So, I am all about Max Homa. Hideki, I already mentioned the driver's an issue for me. Actually, he's really good around the green. I mean, this course, I think he's done pretty well here. At a T3 way back here, 312. Maybe not the greatest results recently, but of course the putter, is where but around the green, he's very solid. Of course, one of the best ball strikers out there. But the drivers went wayward. That makes me nervous. Again, for $100 less, you're getting a better recent form Siwoo Kim. Probably has kind of a mixed bag here too, at 11th, a 29th, a 35th, right? Coming off that win at the Sony. Then, funny enough, did better than I thought at the Amex. Of course, driving distance is not as elite as typically Hideki. But again, you can see it's not showing up for him. But typically Hideki, well, they got him for an average. I always thought of Hideki at like 315, 303. And then what they got Siwoo at? I want to just take a quick look at this. Gets like 290, 300. Okay, so it's kind of shocking that out of these guys that they're that low in driving distance. But I guess also you don't need the distance. A lot of the courses that these guys played recently, like the Sony and the Amex, like you're not trying to bomb it on every hole. Jason Day, I think everybody is super on, and I'm gonna let you know right now. Anytime I pick Jason Day or play him, it haunts me. It like same with Ricky Fowler. So if I want to just go ahead and make sure that the market from a betting perspective and from a DFS perspective, I play him or bet him, it's usually just a disaster. But so many people, he's kind of the hot thing. I mean, what is he, 25-1 now? Which I'm not betting him. I am gonna sprinkle him in DFS, but I'm just letting you know. I mean, again, this is that one where he's in better form. He's had great form here. He's a past winner, I think, twice here. Everything says play Jason Day. And then the cold weather will hit his back. And, day two, he'll pull out of the tournament, something like that. So keep an eye out for that. Sahith, you're just a little too wild for me still. It's just, I don't know. Maybe at the Waste Management. I don't know where I want to play Sahith yet. This is not the course for me. Now, I mean, you can make some arguments like, right, he's had a good showing. One of the best showings I've seen him where off the early was Sanderson Farms. And that's a tight track. You have to, I mean, Valspar, I mean, his game, and then I just saw, what's he gain on POA? Let me go do this. Funny enough, it shows here as his best putting surface. How many rounds is that? 18. I don't know. Like I said, that's a tricky one for me. I think I just saw some things that recently, I mean, he's struggling from that 200 out. I have no problem with his distance. I just have problems where it can go left or right off the tee quite significantly. But the guy's got a pretty good short game, pretty good putter. I think of him more better on Bermuda, but maybe that's because like Waste Management and Sanderson Farms, where he's had some of his better finishes. I don't know. Yeah, right now I'm passing him. Funny enough, I think a lot of people are going to play Matt McNeely again, down that Max Homa train. But, I've told you guys where he's done his damage. Now you can see, pretty good history. He's been doing a lot of it with the putter. And at some point, I feel like that's going to bite him in the ass. Like he's not gaining a lot off the tee. He's not gaining a lot on approach. But, man, he's just been, for the last 6, 7 tournaments, like in Fuego with the putter. Now, typically, POA, right? He grew up on. He's a California guy. I think even had a house right on. Is it Pebble Beach? Doesn't matter. Anyways, yeah, no reason why he can't do well here, but I'm not gonna play him. JJ Spawn, I don't know. I mean, if he was cheaper, I would like him just to kind of plot his way around. Like plotters can do well here. Also, a narrative that I'm leaning towards. Yes, I want distance. I want ball strikers. Of course, Louis at the U.S. Open almost won. I think Francisco Molinari has done well here. Like you can get around this track if you are very accurate, deadly from 200 plus out, and the putter goes. Yeah, you're going to be fine. But I would rather like kind of go with give me the ball strikers and with some hopes of putting. Cam Davis, of course, missed a cut. Maybe that'll get his ownership down a bit. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but perfect fit. I've already kind of went into that for you guys. Keegan Bradley, pretty good track record here, right? Just a ball striking extraordinaire. Let me go take a look. Looks like maybe some of his stats. Sorry, let me see here. I'm just looking at the irons have kind of fallen. a little bit off. The putter was kind of running hot. That's kind of falling back. Oh, it doesn't show up. And I just want to do this real quick. Of course, he had to win at the Zozo. Bridgestone, that's a tough track. That's a long time ago. The Valspar, of course, it's a tough track and it's long. It's just different putting surface. There's Arnold Palmer. Again, that's a while at Genesis. I'm gonna pull that up. I'm just curious while we're here. I didn't do a ton on Keegan. Go to date. I mean, that's a while ago. We're just looking at, like I said, I think it's one of the better. And then we'll pull up the Farmers, his complete track record. So yeah, really good history earlier in his career. I don't know. I have no problem. I'm picking him. I'm gonna play him. Hadwin, not done all right here. No issues, but not for 8,200. Not the guy I'm looking to play. He was the guy I was playing last week. Different kind of setup. Okay, Justin Rose, right there with you on the Jason Day. If I play this guy and I pick him, watch out. But I mean, he's been playing better golf. He's got a great record here. I mean, literally, I'm like, I might just make a build. I'm just going to call it the blow up build. If I put Day, Rose, and Fowler together, just watch out. That could just be disastrous. Or who knows? Maybe it'll all come to fruition. But that I could see doing something like that, and then sprinkling whoever else. But I mean, like I said, guy's been playing decent golf, and he's got a great track record here. Had a good showing here last year. So I'm going to go back to the list. Curious about ownership at $8,000. Like I said, he's always done well here. Of course, he's past champion. I'm not expecting that. I did not bet him. On Monday morning, he opened at 110. I looked at it, but I'm like, there's no way Luke List is going back to back, especially what I've been kind of seeing. I don't feel like his game's been as great. Let me go click on him real fast here. I just want to see. I mean, yeah, off the tee, this putter has just still been horrendous. When is the last time he gained at the Memorial? So back in June is the last time he's gained with the putter that we have stats for. So Hayden Buckley, I really didn't consider him. I mean, let me just take a one. Fighting up pose is only positive surface. Let me do this real fast. Sony, so Sanderson Farms. I mean, not a terrible comparable. There you go. I had that call. I hit him at the Sony. Well, I hit him as in, from a DFS perspective, it was a great pick, but that's where I think of him more than I think of him on this kind of track. So I'm past. Taylor Pendrith. I didn't bet him. I think it's like 50-1, maybe 60-1. But man, if you want to get into that, what elite, I wouldn't say he's elite with the putter, but he is elite off the tee. Pretty good ball striker. We got such little data still on him on like a POA surface. They're good at the RSM, which that's just not a place. But you can see T16th. I mean, that's the kind of guys that I'm looking for. Wyndham Clark. I know on POA putters would he come up second. He's just had a really good run on POA. And he's been playing good golf. I mean, we played really good golf in the fall. What was it? Fall, summer? I've also seen Wyndham just blow up. And I feel like he's that kind of guy. Once things go sideways, just watch out. It's going to be a disaster. Yeah, I mean, let me do this too. Where's he had? He also still looking for his first win. I mean, you could put him right in there. Like, also, I should have bet him. I think his odds have fallen like 70, 80-1. I looked at him early and didn't bet him, and I think you could have got him at 100. And like I said, I might do some more live betting, but it's a perfect fit for him. Maybe this is where he could get his first win. I always think Luke List, Wyndham Clark, like almost identical. All right, I'm going to pass through all these guys. No. Of course, Scott Stallings, I believe, has a win here, off the tee. But, man, he's been playing some bad golf. But out of nowhere, you never know, right? When I say bad golf, I don't know. I just haven't seen what we were seeing. But, I mean, he kind of fits the mold. 7,700 is not a ton. I'd probably rather go to a Kurt Kitayama, maybe fall there instead of Scott Stallings. But who knows? I already mentioned the Ricky build. If I'm going to do it, if I'm going to do the Day Rose Ricky build and just watch it all, just nuclear fallout. I mean, the one thing Ricky's been doing, he was out driving Rahm a few times at the Amex when he played with him. He's got elite off the tee. Still, the putter makes me nervous. Everything else still makes me a little nervous. I'm going to follow Thomas Detry instead. Just solid, Christ. European, should be able to handle the wind. Everything says, this should be a great fit for him. Of course, even I think his odds have fallen quite a bit. I think you can still get him 100-1 actually. So not a terrible bet. I already mentioned Ryan Palmer, just been a lead here. But, man, I have a hard time playing a Ryan Palmer over Munoz that's in the same price bracket, Woodland. I think even Who's the other guy I mentioned? Blanken, Munoz, Palmer. Oh, Grillo. I'd rather play Grillo or Munoz than him. Gary Woodland, right? I mean, this is where Gary should do well, but again, you know what? Throw Gary in my build. So there's my perfect. If I ever play Gary, any of those guys, some of the older guys, those are that's when it blows up. But hey, I'll put a build together with that nonsense. Could happen. Will Gordon again. He's kind of got that elite, driving distance. Pretty decent record here. Made the cut both times, 7,400. Missed a cut to Amex, but this is where I think Will Gordon also, I could be making this up, but I think he's got some ties on the California side. Nick Hardy already mentioned, great ball striker. Kind of the fit. Missed a cut here twice, but I like him. Is positive on POA. I'm gonna move through these guys fast. Trim Mullix, elite off the tee. He's been doing everything well. Terrible putter at times. Of course, I mentioned he got his win not too long ago, this past summer. There's Grillo. I'm not picking him, but he will probably get sprinkled in. If I'm looking for that ball striker guy that maybe out of nowhere, Grillo, a lot like a Siwoo Kim, can pop. So maybe a top 5, top 10 bet is where you would want to play Grillo. I already mentioned Patrick Rogers. I'm all over him. Now this could just blow up my face, but I like it. This is my hope. Brendan Steele, no issues. Told you, he's actually putted well here. I didn't pick him, but 7,300, I'll probably plug him in as some of the bombers. Right, he hits it over 300 on 315, 320. Ben Griffin showed up. I'm trying to remember why I did not pick Ben now. I have no idea. Showed up really well. I thought, you know what? I did pick him. I apologize. So technically, I think it was Ben Griffin was supposed to be in and Ron was supposed to be out. I think something changed when I kind of clicked up. So Ben Griffin is in. I've been on the Ben Griffin, Ben Taylor kind of run. I'm sticking with Ben Griffin. I don't know if I stay with Taylor. I mentioned I'm going to pass Rye. If you're looking for a great ball striker that fits that Grillo, Palmer, Munoz, Adam Svensson is the cheaper version of all that. Terrible putter, but he did turn the putter at the RSM and won. So again, if you're at this price tag, you guys know I'm a big Svensson fan. Of course, Ricky Bobby, I pick him at the Sony Open, misses the cut, and then comes out and T6s at the American Express, and I'm not on him. So again, he fits like that Svensson. Not the same, the guys don't have the distance, but they're very, pretty accurate, good off the tee, good with their irons. The 200 plus, it looks like Svensson's got a way better ranking, at least for the last 6 tournaments, than Bobby. Stefan Jaeger, one of the most aggressive players out there. Benoit, great ball striker. Could be horrific around the greens and putting, but a cheap play. Garrett Higo, I told you I'm betting. So, if you're looking for cheap plays, I don't see a problem with those guys, but I'm going to lean towards Neesmith, right? I mean, he had a kind of nice run here, then a couple miscuts. I'm going to be back on him. I bet him. This course should fit him perfect. Pass. Champ. You guys know I always try to figure out when Champ's going to get his next win, right? Like a lot like Siwoo Kim, it's either cut or top 10. But I just have seen nothing. It's been a while since we've seen him, and oh my God, the short game and the putting was so bad last year. I just can't do it. Of course, his keeps the ball low, good ball striker. Maybe again if I put a bomber lineup together, I might throw him in. Ben Taylor, you can see model looks good. I have no issues with playing some Ben Taylor. I didn't pick him. I'd rather play him over a lot of these other guys in the low 7s. Lonto, I got to see how he's doing. I think he's going to take him a while. Callum Turn, a lead off the tee. Johnny Vegas, typically a lead off the tee, but kind of minimal there. Matthias Schmidt, funny, I really didn't look at him. Had a nice showing, but funny enough, I never thought of him as a good ball striker. Of course, he's European, hits the ball a ton. I mean, is this the German? I think this is that German guy. I always get Matthias. There's 2 guys, Matthias Schmidt, and Schmid. So this guy, yeah, right. He had that good showing at the Amex. It could be interesting, actually. I'm learning a little more about this guy. Just came off the European tour. I think he's a German. Got crazy distance. So you know what? I'm just going to highlight him just as a note for myself that I might put him in the bomber lineups. Bramlett, put him right in there, that bomber lineups. Told you I already bet him. But again, that's kind of where I'm going to be leaning. I want that distance and some other things, just not distance. All right, I'm trying to see if there's anybody else. Doc Redman, right? A good ball striker, terrible putter, but kind of showed up a little bit to Sony. Henrik Norlander, told you I bet him, and I'm playing him. I mean, he had a T2 here before. This guy either goes, can go well or just disastrous. But again, at the cheap, Austin Smarther. So these are my, cheapy plays, and I think that's it. Go up to the top. Let me summarize this for you guys. All right, I was going to say 22, but again, I'm kind of, like I said, I'm kind of fading. All I'm saying, let's do this. I will not be playing maybe Rom here, like a spot or two, but I'm going to kind of fade Rom. I'm going to kind of lead off more with like the Homa, Xander, maybe even Taylor Montgomery. But let's go through this in order. I got Xander, Taylor Montgomery, Homa, Jason Day, Cameron Davis, Keegan Bradley, Justin Rose. We're going to go back to Luke List, Taylor Pendrith, Wyndham Clark, Thomas Detry, Will Gordon, Nick Harding, Trey Molinex, Patrick Rogers. My hope like heck, I'll be the happiest guy ever. Somehow we hit this guy at 130 to 1, get his first win, get it on his California soil. Ben Griffin, Neesmith, that Mateus Schmid, and Joseph Bramlett, Henrik Norlander, and Smotherland. That are the guys that I'm going to use as my pool to kind of build from a GPP DFS lineup perspective. All right, let's go do ownership real quick, and then we'll talk about that weather real fast. Okay, so of course, no shocker, Rom is your number one highest own. Next would be Homa, Finau, Wilsey, Taylor Montgomery, and then Xander. That's interesting. I mean, I did state good set of data. So again, if you don't know how this works, people like what we just saw highlight the players they're going to use, and then you can literally blow that into an Excel file, which then you populate, of course, into DraftKings. And this is how many lineups have already been created doing that, and that's 3,200. So anytime you get over 3,000, that's a nice data sample. I'm very comfortable. Again, I want to look at this over here is typically where the number falls. The guys highlighted are the guys that I'm using, so I'm going to kind of move through, but just so you can see if I see anything kind of, I think Kitayama, that's pretty chalky. Detry's getting a little chalky. Wyndham Clark is at 10, Gordon. So a lot of people are kind of leaning, with the narrative of the bomber. So it's kind of funny. Patrick Rogers is at 9. I'm kind of shocked a little bit by that, but some smart people. Neesmith, again, has really not done a whole lot, but at 8%. Keegan at 7, Luke List at 6, Joseph Bramlett at 5, Molinex. So again, I think people are kind of leaning towards the ball striking, the length. Nick Harding, he should be highlighted. I am picking him. I mentioned these guys all kind of interested in. Seeing if I got anybody down here. Oh, Henrik Norlander. There you go. There's could be my differentiator. I'm going to sprinkle him in at the bottom. And that's it. So that gives you ownership projection, a good understanding where at least the top chalk is fitting if you're trying to be a little unique. All right, quickly, wind and weather. You're going to want to pull up this Blacks Beach Torrey. This spot is right between north and south course. I mean, it's dead on the course. Oh, shoot. If I go to the map real quick, I can show you. So somehow they're literally pulling it right off the course. So you're not going to get any closer than that. And if we look at weather, as I was mentioning, let's go down to Wednesday. Perfect. Thursday, that's when this wind is going to kick in. So again, the key thing I want you to see here is it is going to be windy on Thursday, and pull the guys. I think, again, you might want to lead to the guys that get to play the South on. All right, with that said, let's jump out and wrap this thing up. All right, that's going to wrap up my Farmer Show. You got a lot of information packed into one show. Again, apologize I didn't get this out sooner, but get this wrapped up. You guys will have it here shortly Tuesday afternoon. And as always, if you like what I do, click that like button, share with anybody else. Subscribe if you are not a subscriber, and follow me on DFS Golf Guru on Twitter. Ask me any questions you've got. My one and done. You know what? Maybe Jason Day. I think that is a good one. Burn him. If you're going to burn someone like that, that's what I would probably go with. All right, guys, all the best. Best of luck to you. I'll talk to you guys next week. I believe we got the waste management. For some reason, that's what's in my head, but maybe it's Pebble Beach. I don't know. It's one of those two. But I'll talk to you guys next week, and take care.